Hello and welcome to month 9 of our $5 quilt club for 2023. This is the block that we're going to be sewing. So we will have 3 colored fabrics and black as your background. I'll show you real quick how we're going to be doing this traditional piecing. So since you have different fabrics, they're different sizes, so you need to know which pieces go with what. A is going to be what we use for this one square that you will get. And then D will be the large triangles will be this cool fun print, and the ladybugs will be B. So I'm just going to show you how I would cut these out. So always want to cut off my selvage, so that is never included in my quilt. And then I'm just going to, because there's so much fabric here, I'm going to cut 4 squares for B and cut all 4 layers out at once. Okay, so here are my 4 squares. You could definitely certainly cut triangles if you want, but I'm going to cut out this. I'm just going to use a ruler to line it up on the seam allowance so I can cut. I'm actually going to cut the paper and the fabric all at once, just like that. So everything stays nice. I have a wonderful, perfectly square piece. And sometimes it helps to put a little bit of glue, like from a glue stick, down on the top layer so that it doesn't shift when you need to cut it, because that is kind of annoying. Okay, so I'm going to really gently try to line that back up. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then cut all 4 layers. And then I also need to cut these little dog ears off here, which are these triangles on the top. And I'm just going to angle my rotary cutter and push straight down to cut those pieces. So I'm going to line it up, just push straight down, not even rotate it. Okay, so there are all of my bees. Done. Okay, so now to the next one. We're going to be doing D. So this one is a little bit larger, so I want to make sure that we don't have any of that selvage in our finished product. We'll cut that off. And so we're going to repeat the same thing, but we have to cut this one at an angle in order to have enough fabric to cut all 4. So there's the one. I'll stick this back down so we can roughly cut it out, and then we can, so ideally you will press and starch all of your fabric before you get started so that none of this happens. It will affect your cutting. It won't be nearly as accurate. So that is what you want to do to help your piecing come out so nice. Okay, so now that we have all of our 4 layers, now we can cut this out nicely. So I'm going to cut these 2 sides first. So I'm going to line that up. Okay, so I'm using that 1/4 inch line on that bolder inner line to cut out my pieces here. So one there, not rotating the ruler at all, and cutting across. That way this is a perfect 90-degree angle, and hopefully I can move the ruler without shifting the paper, so that, and without moving my fabric at all. Move this chair so that I can cut this perfectly and get some accurate, awesome seams once we sew it together. So the more accurate our cutting, the more accurate our seams will and our blocks will end up. Okay, so again, I just push those down to cut those triangles off. Looks like there's a tiny bit there. Ta-da! Okay, so fun, so fast. Okay, we're going to repeat the same thing with our square. Since this one looks pretty square, you could line it up in the center. If you have the option, you can also try to fussy cut one particular motif a little bit better than the others. So I'm going to line this up here and cut this side, 2 sides, and then I'm going to pick it up, put it down, Try not to shift it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So again, I'm trying not to shift my fabric or my pattern template piece and using a ruler to cut it. Uh-oh, that one did not come out right. I'm gonna do that one again. So it looks like this is missing. I didn't line it up quite on the right line. Okay, let me make sure it's on the right line here. Okay, there. Okay, it's kind of almost in the center, not quite. Okay, so the only one left now is C, and C is for black. So we are going to cut out 4 of these, and I'm just going to fold the fabric so that there's 4, just like this. Make sure that there's enough space on all sides. You can fold it. Sometimes that is a little bit faster. Sometimes it's just frustrating, so it is easier to cut it versus folding to get all your 4 layers. Because we need to cut 4 of almost everything. So again, I'm going to try to shift this. If you have a cutting table that you can walk around all the edges, it's really, really nice. That way you're never cutting towards yourself, just to stay nice and safe. Okay, I do prefer these rotary cutters. They sure are nice because the blade is open just by squeezing it and you let go and it's on there. So you never have to put the blade cover on. So no accidents that way. Okay, so now we have all my 4 black pieces. I have my A, 4D, and oh my goodness, I only cut 4B. Oops, there's more than that. I gotta keep going. Okay, so we need more of those. We need 8. So I'm going to cut 4 more. Let's see if I can get those in here. 1, 2. I was really not careful when I cut those other ones. Oh, I still have stuff. Okay, cool. 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm gonna again stack all 4. I really wouldn't cut all 8 at a time because that is just too many layers. Things shift a lot when you cut even 4 layers at a time. It can move a lot. And since these are really tiny triangles, we want to make sure that those are as accurate as possible. So it is good to cut only 4 at a time. Okay, let's see if I can. I think I almost did it this time. Didn't shift too bad. There. Okay. There. Looks nice and straight. Oops. Okay. Now I'm going to cut the edges, the corners here. Makes it so nice when those are cut because it makes it so that we can line up our pieces nicely. Okay. All right. Now we have them all cut. There we go. Ta-da! All of our cut pieces. Now we get to do the fun part of sewing them together. Oh wait, we forgot the other B's. Darn it. One more. We still have more to cut. Okay, just kidding. We're going to do this again. Okay, from your black piece, you are also going to cut 8 of the B's for the complement for these triangles here. So I'm going to repeat it the same way. So you can see on here on the key that you have 8 B's in black, 8 B's in red. So we need to cut all of those. So, oops. Oh man, getting all messy here. Okay, let's do this again. I'm just going to really roughly cut this. Okay, and then I'm going to do this side first. Cut that there. That should be 4. And slide it without really moving it. Okay. And then we'll repeat this one more time for 4 more blacks. Okay. There's 4 there. And then not those. Don't cut those. Those are RCs. You can pin them in place or just pile them up so that you're not cutting the pieces that you need for a different part of the block. No fun. Okay, I've done that before. Okay, here we go. Cutting, cutting. Oh, that doesn't look straight. There, that looks better. Okay. I'm gonna put my 1/4 inch line. Oh, that looks kind of crooked. This ruler is kind of obscuring my edges, so it is not my favorite one for trimming these, using as a guide for these templates, because it makes it hard to see your 1/4 inch. Okay. Now we're ready. Okay, so much fun. So we are gonna take these guys, and we are gonna actually sew together 2 of the short edges together, just like this. And we are gonna be making 8 of these units. So right here, all the way around. So we're gonna make 8 of these units together. So I prefer to sew with the 1.8 stitch length. So I'm gonna turn that down. And then we're just gonna stitch this real quick. So you can see, you wanna maintain a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then your block should, when you open it up, should be a nice consistent straight line across here. Should be nice and straight. So this looks like I missed a little bit there. So, and then you wanna press these. You can use a hot iron, which is always awesome, but you can also finger press. So that is another option. Oh, man, we did forget to cut one more. Okay, just kidding. We're also going to use A, and we need to cut 4 black A's. So, and I don't have enough black over here. So that is how you sew those together, and then you're going to sew that that long edge just to your top of your black A triangle, like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go grab some more fabric because I was a monster and cut that too much. And I was a little too crazy with my cutting. So I'm gonna grab some more black fabric so that we can show that real quick. So hang on one second. Okay, thanks for hanging on. Okay, so now, here, we'll fold it this way. Is that wide enough? Oh, no, not quite. Okay, so I'm going to cut this, and it's really scary to cut this freehand because you have a possibility of damaging your template, your paper template, because it doesn't give you a nice straight edge to cut against. So we always recommend using a ruler to lay that on top of your pieces so that you can, one, protect your pieces, your paper template, and you get nice, perfect 90-degree angles. Okay, there's one. Okay, so with this block, we are going to put, you will have to figure out which side you're sewing the black and the ladybugs together, right? So as you can see here, the hypotenuses are on the outside. So you're gonna need to make sure that those are put in the right direction. So when you put this all, we'll just lay this whole block out so you can see what it looks like, because you can sew these in the opposite direction. So those two are the same, but you could also sew it together like this. So you have to make sure that you have your fabric placement correct. So we are gonna lay this out. This one I definitely recommend because this one has a lot of pieces. So we wanna make sure that it's put together properly. So now we're gonna put our pretty hot pink ones. Love this one. Okay. Okay, and now we take our little teeny tiny triangles, and so these ones make the little points. Actually, I think that one's pointed wrong. Like that. And then this one goes here. And then this one, oh man, Look at what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Oh, we're in here. Okay. No, no. Which way are we doing this one? Give me a break. I got it. There we go. Okay. And then we put our black one in the corner. So that is what our block will look like. Make sure we get all those. Oh, I'm like, where's the other two? Okay. And then this one. Let's see, I have those correct. Okay. And then this way. And then this way. This way. This way. More black. Okay. So now we can make sure that we're always sewing our triangles in the right orientation. So since you can do them incorrectly, I would lay out the whole thing, and that way you can just take two, fold them together, make sure that they're put in the right orientation, and then we can sew these. Just like that. Get your next one ready to go. Do so love the machine with the foot pedal cutter. So good. So can line those back up. So the hypotenuse of the triangle goes in the center. Oh my god. I don't think I did that one right. This is so hard because they're so close in size, especially when you sew them together. That is hilarious. Oh, I think that one goes over there. Here we go. There. So these are opposites. So you can do 4 one way, 4 the other way, just so that you're keeping it all straight. But sew those together first. You can do all 8, or you can just work on one quadrant like this. So if you want to sew this together, we're going to line up our corners and sew this down. Okay, once we get that one sewn to our square, we can sew this piece onto that one. So we'll line that one up. Okay, so a 1/4 inch here, always a 1/4 inch. Okay. Once we get that one sewn, and you do want to make sure that this edge right here, this corner, is 1/4 from the edge. That way you know you won't lose your point. So once we have this one, it should be the exact same size as your D piece. And then this one will be sewn to this piece, just like so. Please don't sew like this, and press your pieces so that they line up and they're nice and flat and easy to work with. I'm just going really quickly for your video here. It's not how I would normally do it. Okay. So make sure that everything is laying nice and flat. You can see how nicely these line up right here in the corners. So because we trimmed those off, this looks like it is the perfect size of that hot pink piece. So the one that we pieced should be the exact same size as our hot pink giant D triangle. Okay, so once we have 4 of these sewn, then we're going to sew it to our center black rectangle, and then you're going to sew it to one more, and then you're going to sew this one to this one to this one. So you're going to sew these together like this. These ones are so nice and straight, and they should be the exact same size. So you can't see any of that red poking out because it's the right, nicely, accurately cut. And then we're going to sew it to this one. And so these will be your 3 rows. So you'll have 2 rows of these pieces here sewn to this center C rectangle. And then this is your center sewn to your two more C rectangles. Okay, and so this will be your middle row, your top row, and your bottom row. Once you get all of this row, and this row completed, then we can sew all of those blocks together. So I'm just gonna really quickly, because I didn't cut this out either, I'm gonna quickly show you how to do that, and then I'll at least piece these 2 rows together on the video so that you can see how I like to nest my seams so that it comes out nice and perfect. So bear with me while I try to cut this quickly, but I don't want to mess it up. Okay. So maybe we can get away with 1 video this month instead of 3. So I hope you guys liked the sped up video. I learned how to do that, so that was kind of fun. I don't know if anybody watched it just for the fun of it, but I did learn how to do that, so I thought it was fun. So that is just a new thing. Just, it's the only month that I did it was on month 8. Well, that's not super great. Okay, that's that one, and then this one will be the top one. Just not really, okay, making sure I have those lined up because these are really tiny pieces, and your fabric does stretch a lot along the bias compared to across the grain or along the grain. So it is very important to help keep everything really stable. You want to, there we go. Starch your pieces. Use fabric starch. You can use Best Press. This one's really nice. I have another glass bottle. My favorite though is the Mister. So this one has that little internal bag, and so it just mists everything instead of these standard water, spray bottles that will have really large droplets and really small droplets. So the Mister is really nice because it will more evenly distribute the spray starch. Okay, so here we go. Again, checking fabric placement to make sure that everything is in the right position. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and line it up. So it should be lined up flat on this side, and then the black should be lined up flat on this side. So you can see how that's why it's so nice that we cut that triangle off so that it's not sticking out past the edge of our square. Okay. And then we will, I'll move it. If I move it, I'm gonna move it prematurely away from the edge. I feel like I'm gonna turn one of these triangles and it's not gonna be the right spot. I'm gonna have to undo it. But mistakes happen. That's okay. Okay, again, we're gonna make sure that all of our edges are lined up nicely. This side to this side to this side. Make sure that it is all nice. We do want to press our fabrics to the dark side so that you never see any ghosting of the seam through lighter fabrics. This is red and black, so I don't think we'll actually see any. If you do press it to the other side, not a big deal. But again, we want this point to be 1/4 inch from the edge so that when we sew it, we still see that point of that square there. So there we go. We're going to sew this to this one. So we should have nice lined up points there. And sometimes I do like to sew it this way so I can see which way my seams are going so that nothing gets twisted like this. We would not want that because it adds too much bulk when we're quilting it later. So if it is pieced, it's nice to sew it so that you can see which way your seams are going. I'll line that up a little bit better. Like that, and then hold it so that it will, you can pin it, you can clip it, whatever you like, or you can hold it down. And then that way you can see that none of your seams are getting twisted, because if I would have flipped that, it would have extra bulk, but nice point in the center. So now that we have 2 of these quadrants done, we can sew it to our center C rectangle. Okay, get it lined up all nice. Okay. again, checking your placement, make sure it's oriented the correct direction, and then you can see your seams and you want to make sure that they're going to line up properly. It's nice to sew it that way. Oops. Doop, doop. There. Make sure that both fabrics are lined up. Okay, so now I can show you how I'm going to nest my seams. So here is a finished row. So you're going to repeat the exact same thing for the top. But now I can show you that these ones I'm going to press inward just like that. And then this one I'm going to press outward like this, so that when I fold them together, they're going in opposite directions, and we can nest those seams really perfectly, so that when we open it up, you will see this perfect meeting of all 4 of those fabrics. So I would certainly pin this to make sure that it's going to, because it's a long 10-inch seam, right? So we want to make sure that that's not going to shift during sewing. I'm just going to do it real fast so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to hold that. Oops, looks like there's an extra thread there. I'm going to hold those seams, and I can feel how they are lined up nicely. And then I'm going to hold this one. And again, I want to orient them so that they're in the same direction. And then if you want, you can open it up just like this and check whether or not those are lined up really nicely. Make sure that you don't do that too much, because you can sometimes let the stitches out of that seam right there. We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to hold this down, go nice and slow, and stitch all the way across. So that should end up with really nice points. So there is your block. One thing I forgot to mention, please always make sure that when you are printing your templates, if you have 3 of these across, if you line up the seam allowance all the way across, this should measure 10 inches all the way across this way. So that is one thing that you want to, oh, my ruler's only 9. Okay, that doesn't work. But this should be 10 inches all the way across. And then obviously sewn to this one, it should be a 10-inch square. So if you purchased one of our special custom cut 10-inch rulers, we have those. We also have the Creative Grids ones, so that you can lay it on there and trim any excess fabric that might be on your corners, so that you have a nice perfect 10-inch square. So that is how you sew our cute month 9 block. If you guys have any questions, please always feel free to give me a call or text or email. Always happy to help. To pick up your block, I do have it written on there. I think it's October 23rd and 24th. It's always written on the banner on the website to where you get the pattern. So please check that out. Again, if you have any questions, I'm always happy to help. This one is, I hope you guys like it. I think it's really cute with the little ladybugs. So that one was fun. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.